Hello everyone, Future Ethan here. I forgot to mention this in the heat of explaining my thought process on this, but this video is about the BB Barfly Barracuda V2, which they sent out for free. Huge thank you to BB Barfly, but they did not tell me what to say, did not influence my thoughts. I am not sponsored by them or financially affiliated with them in any way. As usual, they sent it to me for free. Huge thank you to them, but all thoughts and opinions are my own. Without further ado, enjoy the video. Greetings everyone, welcome back to Blade Bias. I decided today to do what's called a pro gamer move and record during the daylight when the lighting in this apartment was an absolute garbage. Oh my gosh. It's still not clean. We can just ignore all this. But look at this. I can do this now. I can walk outside and it's so good and it's so cool and the lighting out here is still garbage. But that's not what we're going to be doing today. Because today, as you can see, I am flipping the BB Barfly Barracuda V2. One of the first things no, not the first thing. But out of all the things I've unboxed in the past week or two, I definitely think this one is the best. And unfortunately, as much as I didn't really want to, I had to save it for last. I had my opinion on this thing formed really early on, actually, in comparison to the other ones that I did follow-up videos on. But I felt it was probably more important to get the things out that the people wanted back, like the Rift and the Shino, especially because Remshi's going to Blade Show literally in a week, so that's cool. Speaking of, Blade Show's in a week. That's crazy. I won't be there, for anyone who's asking. It is across the country, and I am not in a place where I can travel across the country right now, especially when rent's due like 2 days ahead of that. But anyway, today we're back. We're feeling better than ever. That's actually not true. We're feeling better than 2 weeks ago at the very least, and we're going to talk about quite possibly my new favorite sub-$200 Balisong, the BB Barfly Barracuda V2, as this blade so kindly points out. This thing was a very simple, I mean, to kind of go in the direction of Will and Brandon's recent BB Superfly review, this was just a very easy Balisong to get my thoughts on, especially since for the longest time, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here, hopefully you don't mind. The Prisma Pro received Balisong of the Year last year, and it did it for a reason, because to this day, I have yet to find a Balisong that I love as much as the Prisma Pro, at least in the sub $200 range. Prisma Pro retailed for around $180, and for $180, you got a Balisong that was almost unbeatable in terms of build quality, flipping performance, tuning, any of it, feel in the hand, all of it. You couldn't get anything like that, even up to maybe $220, $230. The Prisma Pro ripped, and they discontinued it. And ever since then, my go-to recommendation from $100 to $200 was just Thanos snapped out of existence. And it was really sad because to this day, I still don't have my go-to recommendation for that price range. I have my go-to recommendations for things outside of that price range. You know, sub $100, you're looking at things like the Orion, or you're looking at things like the Thomas Default or the Nibali's Cheese. Above 200, 2 to 300, you're looking at things like the Superfly or the Kraken or anything like that. And then you go further beyond, you know, the Seraph, etc. But that sub $200 range, I feel like just no one has even come close to matching what Machine-Wise offered in the Prisma Pro in terms of build quality, tuning, availability, everything. Let's remember, this thing dropped once a week, and we really haven't seen anything that even comes close to that. The Baikal, which was a Balisong that I really did think was going to come close to that, hasn't been available for a very long time. And I really like how the Baikal flips. The Baikal might have been one of my favorite flipping things in the price range, but they discontinued it. And as I've mentioned in the past, once you discontinue a product, it basically goes away in the eyes of the community 9 times out of 10. People forget about it. People don't care about it anymore. So when I opened the BB Barfly Barracuda V2 and I started flipping it, I immediately recognize that my go-to recommendation might have returned. Because while there are other Balisongs that I think do some things better, the wing, I think, has a better feel in the hand and better ergonomics. The flipping just isn't there for me. The flipping of the wing is quite good. I really do enjoy it, but it's always been Kraken trainer with a side of like extra handle bias that makes it a little weird. I don't really know how to describe it. But the Barracuda V2, I haven't felt that. When I first unboxed it, I said that it was BB Barfly, but more standard. And I think that's true. But what I've really noticed is it feels so much like the Superfly, but cheaper. This thing really does feel like the budget Superfly. Like if you want that Superfly flipping experience in balance and weight distribution alone, you jump to this thing and it's very similar. I do still think the Superfly flips better because it has overall better dimensions, better build quality, etc. But this thing rips for sub $200. I think this thing is retailing. Let me confirm this actually before I say anything. I'm pretty sure this thing is retailing for a ridiculously low price. BB Barfly, what are your secrets? Show me your secrets. The Barracuda V2 is retailing right now for $125. That's glider Arctic territory for something that feels this good. So what does feel so good about it? The Barracuda V2 is just a no-nonsense flipper, in the sense that it does what you want it to do when you want it to do it. And while there are some BB Barfly irregularities here, if we take the Prisma Pro, for example, you can see that these handles are, the dimensions in general, are way chunkier than you're really going to get anywhere else on the market. And that's just kind of a BB Barfly fact of life. The thing is, even with that said, we are still talking smaller than their other Balisongs by a tiny bit, but still by a good enough amount. And the original Firefly, the Firefly V2, was a Balisong that I really liked the balance of. And a Balisong that I really enjoy flipping to this day, but the bulkiness does get in the way sometimes. The Barracuda takes away some, not all, of that bulkiness. And it creates a Balisong that just flips very, very well. In fact, I got to the point where I almost felt a little bit of the Prisma Pro in this thing. You know, it has great momentum. It fans well. It zero Gs well. It sticks to your fingers well and rollovers and stuff like that. It just feels generally good. Like it does what you want it to do, but it still has that side of personality. Exactly what I love the Prisma Pro for. But the biggest thing holding it back for me was the fact that it, you know, feels in the hand. Fouled that closing completely. It feels in the hand like it's twice as big, because in a way it kind of is. And that was really my only complaint. Like, and not even complaint, it was the only thing stopping me from saying that this thing was the Prisma Pro kind of slot in for me. I don't think anything will ever beat the Prisma Pro. I think machine-wise had something that was both incredibly underpriced and way overbuilt. I really don't think we will see a value come close to the Prisma Pro. I guess unless the Superfly goes on sale more consistently like it's been. Because Brandon mentioned in his video that this went down to like almost $200 at one point. That's certainly Prisma Pro level value right there. But BB Barfly stuff, I need to pay more attention to the price of them, because I always look back at their website and I go, wait, wasn't this way more expensive? Didn't they used to charge way more for this? Which, I don't know if that's a good or a bad sign. Anyway, it got to the point where I saw a lot of the Prisma Pro in this thing, just a little bulkier. And that was going to be my final word on the matter. It felt pretty good. The bulkiness did get in the way of me flipping like I wanted to on the Prisma Pro, but overall it still beat out in balance terms most other things in the price point, especially my previous favorite, the wing and the bicall. Until I took out these end pivots, I wasn't even going to do it. It was the same exact thing with the Superfly. People told me, you should take out all the weights, it'll flip amazing. And I looked at the Superfly and I said, I think it needs that weight to maintain its momentum profile and be a good flipper for me. Because when I take the weights out of the bottom of the Prisma Pro, it doesn't feel as good. It feels far less consistent. It just feels more shaky, more unstable, etc. I like the balance better, but I lose a lot of the consistency. And I thought it would be the same for the Superfly until that became my preferred weight distribution or weight configuration. And the same thing happened with this. And interestingly, and the reason that I still do this in the first place in terms of these videos, is you learn something new with every balisong that you flip. At least I do, or I try to. And if the Rift taught me anything, it's that handle dimensions play a huge part in weight distribution in its entirety, more than I ever really thought before. A thin handle can carry less momentum even if it looks like it has a standard amount of weight because it's thinner and there is less material there to begin with. So I thought maybe the opposite is true. I don't think that taking out these weights is going to do anything good for the momentum profile. I think it needs them, considering that BB Barfly shortened the amount of aluminum that's down here to fit that steel. I think it needs that steel in order to maintain momentum and feel like a good flipper. But maybe it doesn't because these handles are so damn thick. And as you can see, the weights stayed out because this thing absolutely rips with the weights out. Becomes more neutral. Slightly less momentum means that it feels more agile. It's easier to throw around, but it still carries more than enough because it's thicker at the bottom than any other handles would be. So while you think you're losing a ton of weight because you take out the steel, the reality is the steel isn't taking up as much of the handle as it is in any other balisong like the Prisma Pro because we have all of this aluminum to make up for it. Meaning that you don't miss it as much as you would on something like a Prisma Pro. I don't feel that drop in momentum like I do in the Prisma Pro as much. You still do feel a drop in momentum because you still are losing a good amount of weight, a good amount of density. But for someone like me who prefers a more neutral, light, agile flipper, that's what this did. Taking those weights out turned it into that lightweight, agile flipper without sacrificing any of the momentum that I was worried it was going to. I've been doing tricks, you can see like the giraffe and this little combo that I've been doing, where I go around the thumb and then I go down like that. I've been doing it so much more consistently lately, despite the fact that I've been flipping less on the Barfly, on the Barracuda. And I noticed the same thing when I flipped my Firefly. The Firefly made me a far more consistent flipper, and I couldn't tell you why, despite the fact that it was really too bulky for me. These handles are too big for me to do consistent things like choker fans on. Yet my consistency and the amount that I dropped it went way down, and I've noticed the same thing with the Barracuda, but it doesn't have the same bulky nature. Yes, it is still bulkier, but it slimmed down. It hit the gym, ran on the treadmill a little bit, and slimmed down enough that I don't notice it as much as I really thought I would, and it's just kind of awesome. Kind of really awesome. I really like this thing. And while I am still unsure of exactly where it fits on my balisong recommendation document, which you should check out, it's always linked in the description. I get a ton of questions like, hey, what do you recommend for this price range? It's all there. I made it so that you could just look instead of waiting for a response from me. I'm not sure exactly where it fits on that list. I'm going to have to go through probably on stream maybe sometime this week and update that list now. But I really do think that this is going to end up being one of my go-to recommendations because the price and the flipping experience that they're putting on offer here for $125 currently, I'll be fair, it's listed as a sale, so it regularly retails for $150. Even at $150, I still think it's awesome. I still think this would be maybe one of my go-to recommendations in the hobby. Sorry, not in the hobby, in the price range. Because as much as I would have loved to recommend the Firefly, which is in a similar price range, it's just too bulky for me to say that everyone's going to like it. This, while it is bulkier, it is maybe bulkier than some people would like, that slimming that the Barracuda does over the rest of BB Barfly's lineup just does wonders to make me think that more people are going to enjoy it. It's going to be a more widespread flipper. And in regards to what I said earlier, it almost gives it a flipping experience similar to the Superfly. When I flip the Barracuda V2, I feel a lot of the Superfly, especially with no weights in it, in this experience, just in a bulkier, more slippery aluminum package. And on that package deal topic, I don't really notice too much issues with comfort or anything. While I initially thought I was going to complain about the sharpness of these cutouts, as I've been flipping it more, it's just kind of become a non-issue. And while it doesn't help the grip as much as I really expected that it would, because like I mentioned in the original video, you really only feel it on the fans, I think it's pretty cool. I think it makes the thing look cool. I think it makes the thing feel cool. Improves grip in some ways, but not really like in others, and it isn't overall too uncomfortable like some people thought it would be. Although, again, your mileage may certainly vary on that. Everyone is different. But I really do feel a lot of the Superfly in this thing. I ultimately think the Superfly is the better flipper. So I'm not saying that you're not going to like the Superfly, or I'm not saying you don't need to buy the Superfly anymore, because I prefer the Superfly dimensions much more. But like, kind of like the Prisma gives you kind of the feeling of a Seraph. Not entirely, but like it kind of gets you there. It's the same thing with this. If you're like desperate for a Superfly and you really want to try one, but you can't swing the $200+ that it costs, you get a Barracuda, you kind of get that similar flipping experience. And again, while I do believe that the Superfly is a better balisong in almost every way, this just kind of gives you that taste that you need to maybe spring for it. Although, to be honest, I don't really know if I would own both at the same time, especially with the same blade. So, yeah. The Barracuda is sick. The upgrades that they made are sick. This is one of the best sounding BB Barflies in my collection. And the whole experience in and of itself is sick. They did a really stellar job on this thing. Made to order, always available, flips amazing, is honestly undervalued. I could see this going for maybe even $170, $180 and people still wouldn't complain. So, you know what? Close enough. Welcome back, Prisma Pro. Not really, but still. It's the closest that we've gotten, I think. So, that's pretty cool. But man, do I love the Prisma Pro. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to BB Barfly for sending this thing out. I didn't say that at the beginning of this video. I'm going to have to put it in text in editing or something. But yeah, thank you to BB Barfly. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Later.